Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Marie Claire's live virtual beauty shoot in partnership with Authentic Beauty Concept, also known as ABC. I'm Lisa Oxenham, the Beauty and Style Director of Marie Claire. And now, before we start shooting these hair looks, we're going to talk through two styles. So for the first style, it's all about rehydrating the hair with ABC Hydrate. And the second look is for people with split, brittle, and damaged hair, and we used the Replenish products. Please send over any questions you have and we'll answer these at the end. So firstly, I'd love to introduce you to the very knowledgeable ABC team. We have UK Ambassador and hairstylist, Joseph Ferraro, and we have formulator, Jerome Wilson, and our models are called Sophia and Celeste. So I'm really excited to be working with ABC today. What I really love about this brand is that what they leave out of the products is as important as what they put in, and they pride themselves on being sustainable. And across their range of products, they are free from silicones, sulfate surfactants, parabens, mineral oil, and artificial colorants. And instead, they use specially chosen vegan ingredients. The first look we have created on Sophia is called Strong Curl. So Sophia has naturally curly hair. So we're going to show you how we gave it strength and volume while enhancing her curls to give them definition and shine. So firstly, Joseph, what's the best way to look after curly hair and why does it benefit from using the Hydrate range?
Right. So welcome everyone. With curly hair, the overall aspect of curly hair, as you talk to everyone, we generally know curly hair needs moisture. And it's because it soaks it in. Naturally, curly hair is drier. How the cuticle is laid, it sort of bends. So it just needs a bit more of that moisture. So it springs. So it kind of needs water all the time. Yeah. And you can't really use too much product in curly hair. The more you can use, the better, because it just soaks it up. So the hydration range is perfect for curly hair. It's not too overloaded, it's not too heavy, but it's kind of giving that hair that nourishment, that drink of that glass of water that it generally needs. You've got to treat curly hair very differently that you would treat straight hair. It's just a fact, and it's just that, you know, it just needs more product and it just needs. So with curly hair, generally, when it's wet, you want it to look, if it's frizzy when it's wet, it's going to be frizzy when it's dry. So you need to put as much product in there when it's wet, because by the time you dry it, it's going to sort of sit much nicer.
Okay, that's really interesting. So for the first step for this look, we use the Hydrate cleanser. And this shampoo, it moisturizes dry curly hair to bring back its elasticity. Jerome, what ingredients in this shampoo are specifically great for curly hair? What does curly hair really need that this has?
I think, first of all, thank you for having me, Amir. And then just to let you all know, I had a power cut, so I'm in a little bit of mood lighting.
Great.
So Joseph eloquently said it, curly hair is something that just needs a drink of water. Okay. And how we drive that hydration and water into our Hydrate range is with the help of two key ingredients. We have mango, we have basil. Basil is really nice and purifying. Mango is made up of 80% water, so it's a really nourishing ingredient too. But our main driver for hydration would come from panthenol, also known as vitamin B5. That is what really drives quite a lot of hydration into the hair. And curly hair, being naturally dry, can do with so much hydration. What's really great about the hydrating range, though, is the lights went on. It's really great that it's for chemically, not chemically, but more mechanically damaged hair that maybe heat usage can actually drive quite a lot of water in there as well.
Right, okay, thank you so much. That's really well explained. So with the Hydrate mask then, which is the second step, how often should people with curly hair use intensive masks like this?
This is all dependent on how often you wash your hair. So one of the things with curly hair, the cleaner the curl, the more unruly the curls. So a client naturally with curly hair would probably shampoo their hair once a week or even once every 2 weeks.
Right.
So I normally count 5 washes and then I do a mask. But also with Authentic Beauty Concept, if your hair is very dry, very curly, quite coarse, you can use the mask as a conditioner as well. So it has a multi-purpose. So you can either use it as a conditioner every time, or you can use it as an intensive treatment by leaving it on for 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so if you were just using it as a conditioner, would you just apply it to the whole of the hair and then wash it out straight away?
Exactly, roots to ends, leave it for up to 5 minutes. It just gives all the ingredients to really get a chance to penetrate them hair, give it the moisture, and then rinse it. If you want to extend it by 10 to 15 minutes, that will give you a more intensive treatment.
Okay, so a conditioner is more like a mini mask type of thing.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then do you want to talk through step 3 then, Joseph?
Yeah, so kind of step 3, we sort of, after the shampoo and the mask was left on for 15 minutes, we went into applying the product in her hair. Obviously, the model's got beautiful natural curly hair. So like I said before, we have to really replenish that moisture in her hair. And when it's wet, it has to have no frizz to it, because as we are going to dry it, we're going to create frizz. So with this range, it's all intermixable as well. So I've actually mixed, because my hair's curly and I kind of go with what I feel works for me in the salon, works for my clients, blah, blah, blah. So we went in with the Replenish Balm, all sort of interlocked product, Replenish Balm, the indulging fluid oil, and also the mask that she used as the treatment. I've mixed that in with those 3 products.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So some people might say, oh, the mask is too heavy, but looking at her hair, it was going to just soak it in. It's going to give it that nourishment. It's going to give it that hydration. So mixing all that together, the fluid oil is going to give it the nourishment, the shine, the hydration. And then why I use the Replenish mask, the balm, is because I feel it gives it a little bit more of a hold than, say, the hydration lotion. So that's why I tend to use those 3 products. And really, literally, it's just scrunching it into the root area, all to the mid-lengths to ends. And you've got to use quite a bit of product. Don't be shy. And as I'm working it in, I would always keep adding and keep adding product.
Yeah, wow, okay. So this will just make the hair very soft. It won't make it feel oily after it's been dried.
Not at all. You know, sort of even the fluid oil on straight hair, you're not really going to get a residue, a really oily scalp. So definitely not on curly hair. You won't. Like I keep repeating, I don't think you can use enough product on curly hair. Obviously, you don't want to waste product, but you can go a bit more heavy-handed on hair like that.
Okay. And Jerome, is that because it seeps into the hair, it infuses into the cuticles and into the strands?
Also, one of the things that we pride ourselves is that our formulation is weightless. So that's within the Authentic Beauty Concept range. What's great about the indulging fluid oil, it actually has an ingredient in there, Abyssinian oil or cram seed oil. And this is really great. And it's been used successfully in skincare, where it has the ability to soak into the skin without leaving a greasy film, but draw nutrients deep into the skin. So we've used that ingredient within the hair care. So it's almost as if you're giving your hair another boost of hyaluronic acid. The Abyssinian oil also contains quite a lot of amino acids. So you're looking at the fact that it gives hydration. It looks at sealing split ends, but most importantly, also giving quite a lot of shine. And as Joseph have used it by mixing it with the Replenish Balm, it's a really good way of using it for curly hair. So it's got 3 ways how you can use it: on its own, on wet hair, and then style. Or you can mix it in your styling aid and then blow dry or let it dry naturally. And you can also use it as a finishing product to give you a lovely, nice gloss. The Replenish Balm as well also looks at elasticity, because with curly hair, you want elasticity in there because that gives the spring and it gives the actual bounce. But I'll talk about the Replenish range with our next model in a little bit more detail.
Okay, yeah, it's really, really good. Thank you. So we then went on to step 4, which was using a diffuser. Why did we need a diffuser, Joseph?
Yeah, so with the diffusing, so the product, again, one product that we kind of used just before the diffusing, we used a product called the nymph salt spray, and that was generally designed for more at the root area. And I think sometimes when people think salt spray, they're thinking, especially on curly hair, they're going to think, wow, it's too drying, it's too stiff. You know, it's like once you spray salt spray, it's not going to, you're not going to hands in there, but it's so soft, and that product one is one of my favorites, and all I wanted was that support at the root area. So when she is using the diffuser, and the reason why we use diffusers for curly hair is because if we don't use a diffuser and just blast hair, the cuticle opens and it becomes just a frizz bomb. Yeah, so the diffuser just acts as a heat element. It heats the hair, but rather than blasting the air out. Yeah, so we always dry, for myself, we always dry on high heat, but on low speed. So the slower we can dry curly hair, the better it is.
So did you say low heat or high heat?
I go on high heat, but lower speed.
At low speed.
I'm not blasting hair out, and I'm not sort of blasting that cuticle out. Yes.
Yeah. So the longer it takes, the better.
Yeah, and generally, you know, if I'm say I'm not on set, and for my clients, I would always dry their hair, and then the last 15% of it is still a little bit damp, and then I would let that set naturally. Yeah, and let the hair do its thing naturally, because you can over dry curly hair more so than straight hair.
And then it becomes frizzy if you over dry it.
It does become frizzy. So within all that, you can always keep adding moisture to it. So don't be afraid as you're drying it. Feel, okay, I need a little bit more moisture. I need a little bit more oil, you know. So keep adding product as you're drying it as well.
Okay. And can you tell me as well, please, Jerome, about the nymph salt spray?
So the nymph salt spray, obviously the name nymph already tells us that we're dealing with like a mythical creature, as in mermaid. So we're creating that mermaid texture. What's great about the product as well is the fact that you have marisol, which is sea salt, and you've got sugars that's really been balanced to give you the texture, but not give you that really crunchy feel. So this will boost the curl activation, give the hair just that little bit of grip, because you just want that little bit of grip to make it feel a little bit more lifting, which is really nice. But it's that balance of the salt and the sugar in there, and that is what makes it quite unique, where it's soft to the touch, but it gives you that mermaid effect.
Okay, fantastic. And then so are we on step 5, Joseph?
Yes.
I'm really sorry about this. 1 second, that's actually me. 1 second. One second. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, yeah, do you want to talk on about the next step then, Joseph?
Yeah, so step 5, what we tended to do, once the hair was sort of pretty much dry, we've diffused it, we've added those products, then I've gone in with the nude powder spray. And again, this is one of our stronger products in the range. It's going to give you that support and that grit, but really concentrating just on that root area. And again, some people might think, well, don't use something dry on curly hair. And I probably wouldn't really use it on the mid-lengths to ends. But if I just wanted that support and that volume at the roots and that sort of big bounce, then I would sort of lift the hair up and then start using it just by actually using the applicator bottle. You don't put it in your hands, you just spray it right directly at the roots, rub it, work it in, and then you're going to get that sort of feeling of support and that bounce without affecting the dryness on the ends and making that too sort of frizzy on the ends.
Fantastic. Okay, so then step 6?
Step 6 was literally about just using your hands to manipulate the hair into the certain look that you wanted. So it would be a matter of sort of styling the hair with your hands. You don't really want to use a brush unless you want to create a frizzy curl or a frizzy texture, which is beautiful on its own, but it's a different look altogether. But really just using your hands, using your scrunching, using your fingers, your fingertips, and really just working it into the style, really, and just working with her natural beauty. I mean, her hair is beautiful, so you don't really want to overstimulate it, really.
Okay, brilliant. So then we also spoke about the fragrance of the products earlier, Jerome. Do you want to talk us through that again, please?
So as with our entire range, whether it might be care or styling, we really work on the luxury element of giving it quite a unique fragrance profile. So as we use our really luxurious fragrances, you know, if you're using a fragrance in the morning, it smells of one note, and then as the day goes, it sort of becomes more mellow. So within the styling range, we have a really great top note profile. We've got lemon, we've got apple, there's bergamot, there's leafy garden in there, and it just brings you that freshness. And then it sort of like becomes more mellower into a base note of like a powdery nuance, sandalwood, or all of that. In the case of the Hydrate range, we've got mango and basil. So that will be your top note within the actual cleanser and conditioner too. But the way I always put it, you won't smell like a fruit salad the whole day of mango and basil. It will become soft and really nice and powdery towards the end too.
Lovely. It's such a beautiful smell. Okay, fantastic. So on to our next model. So next we have Celeste, and we have created a power plait. Do you want to tell us about the plait, Joseph?
Yeah, so again, this is the Replenish range. So Jerome will start talking to you a little bit about the Replenish range in detail, but this is more of our protein-based repairing range that we've got of the brand. Yeah. After the shampoo and conditioner, the cleanser and the conditioner, we went in and sprayed all her hair with the Flawless Primer. And this is something that we could use on every type of hair, all the time, and it's like hairdressing is, I always feel, is slightly behind the beauty, and with women and men, you would generally prime your face before you put makeup on, so you kind of even the porosity out of her hair. So when you're adding other products, the porosity of each strand is even, and it doesn't sort of just take positives and negatives. So if you're not putting the primer on, sometimes when you are putting the mousse, it's not an even spread. So with the primer put on all the hair, brushed through, when you are adding the other products, you're working with an even canvas, which is much, much better.
Right, okay. So Jerome, can you talk us through the Replenish range and why it's so sort of healing for hair?
So with the Replenish range, we obviously want to replenish protein, and this is really what the hair is made up of. So the hair structure loves protein, and when we do things like maybe a color, or let's say for argument's sake too, there's too much heat styling, or the hair becomes brittle and dry, you need elasticity back and you need protein back into the hair. With the Replenish range, our two key ingredients is pecan nuts, and then we also have sugar maple. So with nuts are high in great fats and also rich in protein, but also we need an added protein. So we've got hydrolyzed soy protein as well. And that is really going to give the hair the strength and vitality that it needs. The maple syrup, actually, it's anti-inflammatory, so it's got a healing property to that as well. Also with sugars also adds moisture into a product, and that also gives it that sort of nice balance of you've got protein, you've got moisture, and that is really what dry hair needs too. As Joseph said as well, priming the hair is so important too. as girls, you all know you will put your primer on and then your makeup, because your makeup will last longer. And with using the primer as well, and this is for our flawless primer. So you've got things like coconut oil in there, you've got your jojoba oil in there as well, and you've got panthenols that drives hydration into the hair. So this evens the porosity, and that also ensures that you've got all the elasticity that you need.
Okay, brilliant. So what's the next step, Joseph?
Okay, so after we did that, we then went in again with her product and used the nymph salt spray, concentrating on at the root area. So the majority went at the roots and then went through to the midlands to ends. Again, because we wanted that natural feel, that natural support, and that sort of gritty feel to it. It's a bit more raw, a bit more undone. So we kind of went in, used the nymph salt spray, and then once we'd done that, we sort of just worked it in with her hands. Again, she's got beautiful hair. So instead of really sort of stretching and blow drying it, we went in with that kind of like step forward, the diffuser element again, sort of drying it as slowly as possible. She's got that beautiful texture to her hair. We wanted volume, we wanted bounce. So then we sort of just used our hands, or she used her hands to diffuse that dryer into that product into her hair.
Why wouldn't you use the salt spray through to the lens, to the ends?
Well, because I mainly concentrate on the root area because it's more directional. So wherever I want the product to be strongest is where I would use it the most. So the root area is where it would probably sit too flat. So I need that support at the root area. And then the excess I would use on the ends, because I really wouldn't want her ends to become too stiff and too brittle with it. So I still want her ends to feel hydrated, but it's more sort of that support area to get that fullness is why we use it majority at the root area.
Okay. And then, so she then dried her hair.
She then dried her hair. We then used a little bit of the shaping cream and the indulging fluid oil just on the ends. And that's the reason why I want it still to be hydrated, but the support at the roots. We dried her hair with the diffuser. Once that was sort of set in place, I asked her to sort of start kind of plaiting her hair, just the normal 3-strand plaits, just towards one side, yeah? So with that plait, it's kind of just bringing it in. It's very elegant, but we really, really wanted it to be distressed. I don't want a plait to be visible when you look at her hair. It's not really like you can see a plait. It's just something that it encapsulates the hair together, and then it's just a bit more sort of mermaidy, to just like really sort of stripped back to its organic feel to it.
Yeah. Joseph, what would you do if somebody didn't have those lovely layers and the hair was quite one length? What would you do? Would you just dishevel it and not pull the big pieces out?
Yeah, I would kind of still put the product through the root area just to give you that support. And then what I would probably tend to use, and then I would probably start using the nymph salt spray within my hands. So rather than spraying the hair, I would spray it onto my hands and then work that into the hair. So it becomes that little bit more textured feel. If I wanted an added element to it, so by pulling the hair out and giving it that volume, then you could go in with your nude powder spray and really sort of just working that through. The other product that we tended to use, and it's probably fairly new in our range, is the airy texture spray. So that kind of sits in between a dry shampoo and a hairspray. It's fantastic. So if you don't want to fix the hairspray, but you don't really want just the dry shampoo, you've got a product that does a bit of everything. So again, lifting it out at the root area, spraying it onto the ends. It's not going to be sticky. It doesn't feel crispy. None of these products feel crispy. You brush them out, you can manipulate it with your hands, you can overload with other products, overlap with other products, different ranges, and it all just still keeps the integrity of her hair.
Okay, and is that the same type of thing that you would do with the gritty wax paste as well?
Yeah, the gritty wax paste again is a really sort of it's a lovely product, but you really need to sort of work it into your hands. So I tend to sort of take a little bit, use a bit of heat, really work it into your hands. The gritty wax paste, it gives you that lived-in feel, that second day feel. You know, sometimes it's a bit too clean, your hair, so you kind of want to make it a bit more unruly, about second that second day feel. So for me, the gritty wax will give you that feeling without, again, going too greasy or too heavy on that person's hair.
Jerome, how is this gritty wax formulated so that it's easy to use for people?
Typically, this is a type of product. It has like a matte to semi-matte finish on the hair. So typically, this would be used for gents on shorter hair to give that sort of matte finish. So what we do have within the gritty wax paste is kaolin. So kaolin is what gives you the mattness. And then we also have emollients, and all our emollients within the range is also certified by EcoCert. So EcoCert is what I call the organic police. So they will make sure that all our emollients that are organically derived. So things like we have like castor seed oil, we have carnauba oil in there as well. So you've got a balance of mattness, but you've got a balance of softness. And as Joseph has rightfully said, you need to just warm it up in the hands. And because of the kaolin, it's a little bit sort of like mattish, but the minute you start moving it, it becomes more creamier, and you can really give it that matte to semi-matte finish.
Sounds lovely, actually. I'd really like to try that out myself. Well, that's great. I think we've spoken about the whole look now, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful look, and I love the amount of volume in that hairstyle. Can somebody have this hairstyle too if your hair is quite fine?
You can have it. I think you've just got to be a bit more careful with it, and probably start using a little bit more of the salt spray or the nude powder spray, especially at the root area, just to give you that volume. You would probably then go into more our amplify range to sort of give you that that volume and that fullness into the cuticle. But yeah, there's no reason why someone with finer hair can't use this same feeling, but it will just slightly look a little bit different. But yes, you can still get volume and fullness. But it's really great for anyone with sort of, past the shoulder kind of hair, because you really need it to sort of wrap round. Anything shorter than that, you're not going to get that sort of mermaidy feel to it.
Right, okay, that's really helpful. Now, I've had a couple of questions, but quite a few questions actually, which would be great to answer. I think we will go on set now to start shooting. So Benjamin Kaufman is our concept director and photographer. So he will be taking the girls on set now to shoot, which would be great. So if we can do question time now, that would be brilliant. So if anybody's got any other questions that you want to ask, we've had quite a few come through. Do you have any tips for making a hairstyle last throughout the day? This is from somebody called Olivia. My curly hair always gets so frizzy, either from the cold air or the warm heating. So Joseph, do you want to answer this first?
Yeah, so I guess what I explained earlier is maybe the main reason why I feel curly hair tends to go frizzy is there's not enough product in it, full stop. So they're probably a bit shy. They probably feel I'm overloading that product. How I would dry hair in a salon or any shoot is I really put that moisture back into it. And like I keep repeating, if her hair looks slightly frizzy when it's wet, 100% it's going to be frizzy when it's dry. So if it doesn't look as frizzy wet, as you dry it, it's going to hold better. It's going to hold that moisture better. Because as you think of the cuticle of curly hair, it's spirally. So that cuticle's got to work a little bit stronger. So it kind of tears a little bit more. So with straight hair, it's a little bit more straight, and that it doesn't need as much moisture. So I would use as much of the hydration range as possible, the oils, really pump it in. As you're drying it, then use a little bit more, dry a little bit more, use a little bit more. So keep adding product to it throughout the day, and try not to touch it too much throughout the day.
Okay. When you say make sure if it's frizzy when it's wet, then it's frizzy when it's dry, do you mean that it looks like it's just the strands are all separated.
Correct. Yes. Yes. So when it's, you know, with curly hair, if they've just come out of the shower and, you know, and it's wet, you don't really get a frizz to it because it's got that moisture to it. So you need to replicate that. Obviously, you're not going to come out drenched, but you need to replicate that with product. So it needs to have that glossy feel to it when it's before dry, that enough nourishment, enough moisture, enough water in her hair, because as you dry it, it's inevitably going to be drier and start frizzing a little bit more. But if you haven't got the foundation right to begin with, you've got no hope at the end.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. So a question for you, Jerome. Is there salt in the salt spray?
Yes, there is salt. So, but we use Murray salt, which is sea salt, and this comes from the Dead Sea. So, and it's quite rich in antioxidants too. And as I've said, so we've got the salt, and like I said, we've got sea salt, and it's balancing that with sugar so that you don't get it feeling crispy, like you've just walked out of the ocean and baked your hair in the sun. And that balance is what makes our nymph salt spray so unique.
Okay, brilliant. Any advice if you have a really sensitive scalp? Somebody's got a very sensitive scalp.
One of the things with a sensitive scalp is always look at everything around why you are getting a sensitive scalp. So there could be two reasons. It could be diet, it could be the fact that you are on medication, it could also be the fact that you've done a chemical process and it has now left your scalp feeling a little bit sensitive. Then you also need to look at, is this a flakiness that I'm getting there, or if this is red spots. So because our range is really stripped back of all the gunk and we've really focused on getting pure, simple and natural ingredients, we have noticed that from feedback that we got is that people have noticed that their scalps don't become as greasy. They have also found that there is a reduced sensitivity in the scalp. We are going to be launching something towards the end of the year, which will look specifically at sensitive scalps. And we also have an endorsement from the Sensitivity Council in Europe. I could be corrected on that, but we are definitely looking at something like that too. Lots of feedback that we have received from customers and even some of our sales reps who have had sort of scalp issues with other brands have loved using this because in many cases it has reduced it dramatically, or they've not experienced it at all. But one of the things is look beyond just a cleanse and look at medication, diet, all of those things.
Yeah, stress causes sensitive
Yes.
scalp too, doesn't it? Okay, so that leads me to the next question. Does using the powder spray leave a build up on the hair? So like
could I answer that? So what's really great about things like the nude powder spray, like the dry shampoo spray, because we use biodegradable rice starch, biodegradable potato starch, biodegradable tapioca starch, you don't get that, because sometimes you can use other brands and you can wash your hair and you can still feel the residue and grit. But what's unique about using the biodegradable potato starch or whatever is that it's water miscible. So it means it mixes well with the water when you're shampooing the hair and rinses out very well too. And the only way that I can explain water miscible is if you have a G&T. So you have your favorite gin and your favorite tonic. As you know, the gin is quite a bit of a syrup, but the minute you mix it with the tonic, it mixes together. So that is what miscible means. So by having those biodegradable potato starches in that, we make sure that we rinse all of that out and you don't get that gritty sort of buildup on the hair.
Okay, that's really well explained. Thank you. What can I do? My hair has been really damaged from hair dye. So I guess it must be brittle and breaking.
Do you want to start, Joseph?
Yeah, I think with that you've got to probably go back to the beginning on why it's happening. There's no products out there that are going to be miracle workers, and if it's breaking because it's a chemical that's broken it. So more so than ever, it would be a high bleach or a high color that's broken it, or over processed treatments. So you would need to really sort of strip that back and think why that's happened, and then really start the process of the repair. So I would definitely go for the Replenish range, because it's going to be protein. You need to add protein, which protein is different to the moisture. Moisture adds a glass of water. Protein is strengthening the cuticle so that cuticle layer doesn't snap and it becomes stronger and stronger. So you and then you always should be using something in your hair before you blow dry your hair, whether it's a primer, something that's going to protect it from those hair dryers, those irons, those tongs, because if you're not using anything in your hair, that heat, and they are quite hot, it's just penetrating into your cuticle, and they're really fine layers of cuticle. It's just going to seep through it, and it's just going to keep breaking. So have something in your hair, whether it's a mousse, whether it's a primer, whether it's an oil, but make sure it's heat protective, and you're getting that protection whenever you're drying your hair. So that would start the process, and just try to strip back any heat or anything for the hair to start repairing itself.
Okay, Jerome, do you want to add anything to that?
I was totally agree with Joseph. I was going to also say stop whatever you're doing to your hair. And you know what we have seen in last year's first lockdown is when people were in their houses, not drying their hair, not coloring their hair. People have seen a huge increase in the vitality and strength in their hair. And as Joseph has said, sometimes people focus so much on cleansers and conditioners and masks, and they forget about styling, because heat styling is just as bad as a chemical process.
Yeah. And so would it be very similar for this question? I've got a question for Mia. What products would you recommend for thinner, damaged hair? So it's probably very similar in answer.
So thinner, damaged hair, I would, within our range, don't worry about the amplifier is going to be lighter than the Replenish, because everything has been balanced so that you don't get weight or build up on the hair. If your hair is color treated and damaged, and it depends on the actual damage that there is, I would definitely first go with the Replenish range. If it's moderately damaged, I would also go to the Glow range, because with the Replenish range, you've got something like high protein and then moisture. With the Glow range, you've got a little bit more moisture, but you've still got protein there as well. Right. And just building that moisture and protein level in the hair.
Okay, that makes sense. And I've got another question from Anna. I'm getting so many questions tonight. This is great. What product would you recommend to get rid of frizz? I want to achieve that smooth and sleek look. My hair is wavy. I have this problem too. So.
For me, I would probably go towards the shaping cream. So I would start with the Flawless Primer, to begin with. So you're smoothing down the cuticle layer, so you're evening out the porosity of someone's hair. Then I would probably go into, if you don't really want a lot of hold as such, you're kind of just happy with your hair, but you just want to sort of smooth it out, then I would go with the shaping cream, and potentially adding a little bit of the indulging fluid oil, because the shaping cream will just give you that natural hold to it, gives a little bit of natural shine to it, but then you've got your fluid oil as well to give you that added extra condition, shine, and all of that is going to be heat protective as well. If you wanted something that to give you less frizz but a bit more hold factor, then you could also mix the bit of shaping cream after the Flawless Primer, and then you could go into with your Amplify Mousse. Again, working that into your hair. It's not like a really old-fashioned mousse, which people think, wow, I don't want to use a mousse because it's going to go crispy, it's going to go white as soon as I touch it. You know, it's going to give you that bounce, but still that flexibility on your hair. But the shaping cream will give you that sort of less frizz feeling to your hair. But it depends what you want. If you don't want volume, then don't use the Amplify Mousse and just go for the fluid oil. If you want a bit more volume, then you can use your Amplify Mousse. And like I generally use majority of my clients now, whether they're thick or thin, you can use the nymph salt spray at the root area to give you that oomph as well.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. And would you ever recommend air drying? So using those products and then maybe using them before you sleep at night, letting your hair air dry and then going to bed and then waking up and you have that sort of quite wavy style in the morning. Would you recommend something like that?
Definitely. I mean, I guess
not to dry your hair too much.
Yeah, you know, obviously less heat on your hair is going to be more beneficial, really. So if you don't have to dry it and you've got that luxurious quality of hair that you can kind of just leave, not everyone has that, and you're going to have to smooth the cuticle. But if you do, and you can just leave it, and sometimes you can put these products in and kind of loosely plait your hair. You don't want it too tight. Loosely plait your hair. Go to bed. Yeah. You let that plait out, and you have this really nice beachy wave with no heat at all, really. So, or very limited heats, you know, in the next day. So yeah, 100%, you know, this is what our brand's all about, is no filter, you know, kind of just be who you are. And, you know, occasionally, yes, we have to dry our hair because not everyone has that luxury of no frizz. But if you don't need to, then the less heat and the less drying, then yeah, these products are perfect for that.
Okay, so one final question for you both. What's your favourite product out of the whole range?
Oh, God.
Right, you go first.
Shall I go first? Yeah. I think out of the whole range, I would say the Hydrate range. If in doubt, hydrate. You can never give your hair enough water. So yeah. I cannot do without the Hydrate range. And then from the styling range, dry shampoo. It's great for, like I said previously, it's great for sucking up like that secondary grease on the root area, but also great to blow dry with. And it's a trick that I learned from Joseph. Spray it in the roots, blow dry with it. It just lifts it, gives it really quite a nice feeling when you're done with it and you want a little bit of tossing through the ends. You can use it for that too. So it's very much multitask. So those are the two things that I couldn't live without in the range.
Okay, perfect. Really good to know. Thanks, Jerome. Joseph?
Yeah, for me, I would go, if it's the cleansers and the conditioners, I'd go towards the Glow range. I love the sort of smell of it and I love the feel of it. But as you probably imagine, for styling, I would have to go now towards the Nip Salt Spray. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I can't wait to try that.
I use it for any type of hair, thick, thin, you know, you can use it for any type.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. I think that's it. We're out of questions. So thank you everybody for watching. And if you have any questions, then DM ABC. I'm sure they'd love to hear your questions and get back to you. And thank you so much to all our models today as well, and the team. And yeah, have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.